Welcome to Fictionary, a place where you can sit back, relax, enjoy a sip of something delicious, and listen to some original fiction. I'm your host, Deitra, and I'm so glad that you are here and that you are you. Today is a deviation from our norm because I have a special guest for you. To just share a little bit more, Fictionary was born from a desire to push myself into writing and actually doing something with my writing, other than hiding it away in my notebooks and the graveyard of ideas known as Google Docs. Now, I know that there are a lot of us out there who struggle with the follow-through end of writing, and I thought that it would be fun and hopefully motivational to speak with other authors who are doing the damn thing. So far, we've spoken with YA author Shantae Oliver and fantasy author Brittany Gathing, and I personally have really loved the experience, and I hope that you guys have too. They are both writers who have published novels, but there are also other ways for us to be able to share our writing, and I'm excited to talk to today's guest because he is doing that. So, with no further ado, today's guest is writer Jim Mack, who enjoys writing poetry and short stories, and he's been published in the literary journal, The Stone Coast Review. He's also the co-host of the YouTube program, Pineal Express, and we met through a mutual friend and started chatting about writing and podcasting, and I thought it would be awesome to speak with him on Fictionary. So I've had the opportunity to read some of his work, and guys, he has a great talent. So I can't wait. Let's go ahead and get started. Hi, Jim. Welcome back to Fictionary.
I'm glad to be here.
Well, I'm really excited to be able to speak with you today. I know that this isn't our first time doing this, so I'm really grateful that we're able to give it another go.
Yeah, that's okay. It's not our first time, but it's going to be our best time.
I agree. So for you guys listening, we had a prior interview, but I was feeling really gross and I was not bringing my usual energy and self to the interview. So Jim has been kind enough to agree to a do-over. So we're going to go ahead and get this party started. Okay, Jim?
Sure thing.
All right. So we're going to play a rapid fire game of Would You Rather. Are you familiar with the game?
I am familiar, yeah.
Okay. So if you are not familiar with the game, for those that are listening, it's super simple. I'm going to give Jim two options, and then he's going to choose the one that he prefers. All right?
Ready? And since it's rapid fire, you don't want me giving explanation, right? It's I'm just going to go with what it is.
Yeah, you can give like very brief explanations, but we want to just go with it.
Okay.
All right. So, would you rather be a genius and know everything or be amazing at any activity you tried?
Definitely any activity I tried. There's certain truths that people probably shouldn't know and probably would be disturbed to know.
Would you rather be the richest person in the world or be immortal?
Immortality is a curse, I guess. I guess riches can be up to a certain point, but I'll go with riches.
Would you rather experience the world beginning or ending?
I would say, provided I could come back, I'd rather experience it ending. But if I'm stuck there, I would go with beginning.
Would you rather have more money or more time?
Oh, I would say more money in my case. I'm doing okay on time.
Would you rather only be able to whisper or only be able to shout?
Have to only be able to whisper. I could at least set up like a little microphone apparatus or something.
Yeah, this one made me laugh because I was just like, either one is super annoying. Would you rather the aliens that make first contact be robotic or organic?
Organic.
Would you rather have a pet skunk that sprayed you once a month or a pet porcupine that quilled you once a month?
The skunk, I think.
Really? I don't know. I actually like the scent of skunk, but I don't know that I would want to smell like a skunk.
Yeah, I oddly find the smell of a skunk oddly pleasant myself, but yeah, I think that's the reason. You're right, though. I think since not everyone shares that view, I would go around smelling a little bit, wouldn't I?
First of all, let me just pause and say you are absolutely the first person that's ever agreed with me that the smell of skunk is not terrible. Anytime I say, like, I'm like, guys, I like enjoy the smell of skunk. Everyone's like, what's wrong with you? So, yay, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, my stoner friends in particular like the smell of skunk, so I think it brings back good memories.
I mean, there are some similarities, I suppose. Okay, would you rather have 10,000 spoons when all you need is a knife, or always have a knife but never be able to use spoons?
Ah, there you go. That's an ironic question. Let me think about this. I'll go with this 10,000 spoons.
I think I would do the knife because I can use a fork, but I cut a lot of vegetables. I'm a vegetarian. I need to be able to cut my veggies up, man. Can't do that with a spoon. Would you rather be trapped inside a video game or have that video game come to life in the real world?
I'd rather it come to life in the real world than we're all in this together.
Would you rather talk like Yoda or breathe like Darth Vader for the rest of your life?
Oh my goodness. I could breathe like Darth Vader, I think.
Okay, let me hear your best Darth Vader.
Oh my goodness, let me think about this. My best Darth Vader breathing is just very belabored.
Darth Vader sentence. We all know the one.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Pretty good. James Earl Jones, he's like majestic. I don't understand that voice. Okay, would you rather eat only cheese for 1 year or not be able to eat cheese for 1 year?
I'd rather not be able to eat it for 1 year.
Yeah, I'm lactose intolerant. It's like a no question. But even in my lactose intolerance, I still might choose to eat cheese for a year.
Well, I've heard there are things you can take, but I'm sure you know more about that than I do.
Yeah, there are things. I don't know how much they help or whether I actually make the choice to use them, but that's a whole other story. Would you rather always have a mullet haircut or a ponytail haircut?
Ponytail.
Ponytail, I agree. I mean, mullet, business in the front, party in the back. So like you're bringing two different styles, but I prefer the ponytails. Okay, always. Oh, this one really stresses me out. Always hit a red light for the rest of your life, or always get slow internet after the sun goes down.
Red light for sure.
Oh, I know. I hate. I have the worst road rage. It's bad. People drive with me and they're like, "You seem so nice. What's wrong with you?"
Until you get behind the wheel, then I turn. Nice.
It's like a whole other person. I have another persona that comes out. It's like Jekyll and Hyde when I'm driving. Would you rather know how you will die or when you will die?
I would say more like when.
When?
Yeah.
Would you rather have a permanent splinter under your big toenail or have a permanent bad haircut?
Splinter.
What? I can. Oh, wait, what's your reasoning?
Well, I mean, I could probably find some sort of anesthetic to use on my foot, but visually, I can't put a bag over my head all day.
That's a good point. Good point. I don't know. You could wear a hat.
I'd have to wear a hat every place. Walk into I don't know, some sacred place with a hat on and just keep it I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that speaks to our vanity. I'd rather be in perpetual pain than walk around looking crazy.
Well, pain you can adjust to, but yeah, I don't know. The vanity, I'm gonna soak it all in. I'll embrace it.
Okay, we have two more. Would you rather know the world's secrets or live ignorantly forever?
I do think ignorance is bliss in this situation. I think the world's secrets are probably quite disturbing.
Come on, phone. I thought I had it on mute. I agree. However, I'm super nosy. I don't know if nosy. I'm very curious, and I have
There you
all of
go.
these very deep theories about things. So I'd like to know if I'm right. So I think I would probably want to know the world's secrets and then be miserable.
Yeah. Look for some vindication.
Final one. Would you rather speak to animals or know other people's thoughts?
I would rather speak to animals.
So you want to doolittle it up.
There it is. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think I'd rather speak to animals too. People are mean. I don't need to hear what they're thinking.
Make lots of friends at the zoo or in the woods.
Like, could you imagine just like having a conversation like with your pet?
I think some pets might have a bunch of complaints depending on what type of pet and what type of owner. So yeah, I don't know. It'd be tougher to listen to your pet, I think.
Complaining to you all day. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start talking about writing, Jim. And I'm going to start with the most basic question. How long have you been writing, or when did you start?
I started in about 2014. I mean, I guess I could say I really started earlier. When I was in, middle school and high school, I would write secret poetry in my room. And then my parents would, discover it and ask me to account for it. But seriously, I would say I started writing in 2014.
Okay, so now I'm intrigued. Secret poetry that you had to.
Yeah, you know how, like many teenagers, you got to get the angst out somehow, and so I did that with writing, but it was not meant for public consumption.
Gotcha. Yeah, I went through a very intense poetry phase when I was younger, but mine was like all like romantic poetry. Like I had no clue, like just because that's like my head, like what goes on in my brain. So it was just like, oh, love poetry, and then also angsty poetry because I was very dramatic. So it was dramatic, angsty romance. That's a new genre for you.
Good combo.
Yeah. So you said in 2014 is when you first started writing more seriously. When did you first call yourself a writer? Like say, I am a writer. Or do you do that yet?
I do call myself a writer. I think it must have been around the time I first got published. So this would have been a couple years after. This would have been in maybe late 2015, early 2016. Because then I had something to point to.
And say, look, this is my work.
I can prove I'm a writer. Look.
There's evidence, and it's not just what I have in my notebooks, people. So do you have any books or authors that you feel like inspired you in your writing or to become a writer?
Oh, so many. Yeah. I mean, Tolkien, the work of Tolkien, definitely influenced me heavily. Poe influenced me heavily. I get influence from sometimes manga, like Kentaro Miura, his work. Berserk would be an example. Definitely all sorts of influences. Too many to mention, really.
I also, like, I grew up in, well, I didn't grow up in Japan, but I lived in Japan for about like 5 years, formative years, and manga was really big there. But I was more like Sailor Moon.
I mean, yeah, that can be fun. I didn't know that. Are you how is your Japanese?
Terrible. I lived on a military base. I took Spanish class instead of Japanese, and I regret it to this day. I chose Spanish for the fact that I am Puerto Rican, and I was like, I need to learn how to speak Spanish. But I wish I had taken the opportunity to learn Japan while I was there. Learn Japanese while I was in Japan. So I can count.
Would have been fascinating. I've heard it's a very difficult language for people who start out with just English.
Well, I guess what I'll say is like, because I do watch a lot of like anime, but when I watch, I usually watch with just the subtitles, and then I get to the point where I think that I speak Japanese.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I'm with you there. There's certain, at least for me, maybe not as maybe not as much, but in at least a few phrases I pick out from anime. Gosh, we should be careful, Deitra. This might turn into anime chat if we let this go long enough.
Hey, I love anime. I wouldn't be upset with that. But this is fictionary, so we're going to get back to writing. Okay, so talking about writing, what do you feel like are the most important elements of good writing? So you said some of your influences were like Poe, Tolkien. So what do you feel like is an element of good writing?
Paying attention to the sound, I think that's one thing a lot of writers, especially a lot of early writers, don't really do because they're very interested in character and plot, and that's great. But paying attention to the language itself and the sonics of it and reading it out loud to yourself, I think can be very helpful. So, really attending to that sound, finding authors whose prose you really like, and then saying, what is it about how this sounds that I like? And then you can bring that to your own writing. It's a detail that seldom gets discussed in critiquing people's work. They don't often talk about the language because it's not always the most obvious thing to comment on, but I think it can go a long way.
I like that that point. It actually led into my second question. But I mean, you kind of answered it already. I do think, like for me, when I'm writing, I read out loud what I've written. Like I'll write a few paragraphs and then I'll go back and like practice reading them out loud. But it's it's because of the nature of what I do. But I've always done that, and because sometimes things don't flow, right? It doesn't sound natural. Right. It doesn't. There's no cadence to it.
Yeah, it can help reading out loud in that situation. I mean, one thing I find interesting is that some people you may know don't even have a subarticulated voice. They don't have a voice in their head when they're reading something at all. And for those people, even doubly so, reading out loud, very important.
That's interesting. I mean, I don't know. I think just for because I'm very dramatic. Like, I've always been a person who hears the voices in my head and then feels the need to express them. So
yeah, very much the same. I don't know, but people that don't experience that think that our description of that experience is the odd one. But it's all a matter of perspective, I suppose.
So I know you said sound. The sound is what you consider first, but after that, plot or characters?
For me, plot, and that might not be the best way to go. I'd really like to get more in depth with my character creation, but for me, it tends to be plot, and the characters kind of find their way in.
I tend to be more character driven, so I'll hear. Like we talked about this a little bit last time, like I'll hear a character in my head and then I'll feel like, oh, I need to tell your story. And so the story is based heavily in the character and then the plot comes out through that. But I probably need to work a little bit more on developing my plots.
I like your way though. I think I want to adopt that more and really grow as a character writer.
So when you are developing your plots or your characters, what process do you take or how do you do it?
I will, when coming up with a story, I'll either have a prompt in front of me or I will have a topic, like a theme that I really want to touch on, or a concept. And based on that, a plot will sort of unfold in my mind, something that will be logical, that will proceed from whatever it is that I want to get at. And from there, then for me, like a later step in the process is coming up with characters that can fit well within that world. So my process would be kind of conceptual first, and then plot driven / world building driven, and then from there characters are a later step in the process.
I've been doing a lot of contests, and I like having a focus to start. So, you get like a genre or something in a word and you build your story around that. And I find it really helpful because, like I said, my usual style is just I'll hear something or like get an idea and it'll start to develop and nag me until I start writing it. But I feel like I'm more focused when I do have those in front of me to help me like start developing a story. And it also takes
it is more structured in that way.
Yeah, and it also like it takes you outside of what you would normally think of writing about. So I do.
Prompts are so important and contests are so helpful.
I learned this phrase when I interviewed my sister and I'd never heard it before. And I think that I know the answer. I think you kind of already given it. But would you say that you're more of a plotter or a pantser?
Definitely a plotter. Yeah, I can't. It's tougher to write by the seat of my pants. I do like to plan things out. There's pros and cons, as you know.
Yeah, I'm a pantser. Well, so in my writing space, like I just took a picture of it because I've like just redone it and I'm like, I love this whole area now. So there's certain things that I have that I'm like, I need this here. I need my speaker. I need some music. I need my pens, my notepads. So for you in your writing space, what do you have that helps you stay focused and get in the zone?
Well, I envy those that can write with music in the background. Since I'm so focused on the sound, the music will clash. The music I'm hearing will clash with the music of the pros. But I wish I could do that. I think that would be a pleasant way to write if I could do it. So for me, I like to get out of the house if I can. There are so many distractions at home. I like to be in a place where it's not that there aren't distractions, but that it can all blend into the background. So like a coffee shop, sometimes a library. That's really my space. I like to be out of where I normally exist and in a specialized location that's conducive to writing. And then I can get more into the zone.
I've never tried that. I feel like I would get so distracted in a coffee shop because I'm a people watcher. And like I said, I'm nosy. Okay.
Maybe library for you, although it could come into the same issue.
Same issue. I like having like a dedicated space, but I would be interested to try like going somewhere else to do it. But then I'm also like I don't just sit still when I'm writing. Like I'll get up, like I do jumping jacks. I'll use my weighted hula hoop, like do like random things, like keep myself focused. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how well that would go over in a coffee shop.
Yeah. I mean, my theory is it's like, when you're in college, do you do your best studying in your dorm or do you do your best studying at the library? It's kind of that theory.
I think I'm like a study corral person or my room. Okay. So you met the music. Okay. So you can't listen to music when you write.
I wish I could, yeah, but no, I definitely can't.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, it makes it more cinematic for me, I guess. Like, I can visualize what I'm writing, and it's like, I feel like I'm in a movie. Like, dun, 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 and typing away. I also have the bad habit of starting to type to the rhythm of whatever I'm listening to. So, writing. What do you think is the best way to improve your writing skills?
It's cliche, but it's to do it. It's the same thing as if you were practicing guitar, right? Like the number of hours you put in are going to yield something on the back end. So the best way to write is to write. I mean, it sounds obvious, but practice is gonna make perfect, or at least make better.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. The more you write, the better you get. Do you have any people that you go to for constructive criticism of your work?
You need that. Yeah, everybody needs that. Everybody needs, an honest writer that they trust, or, a brutally honest friend. I think that is one issue in a lot of writing communities that is a problem, is getting honest, constructive criticism as opposed to support, right? Like there
Mm-hmm.
are people I think who are just starting out who sort of, kind of need that encouragement. But there's a phrase, I don't know if you've heard the phrase hug box, but I think a lot of writing communities can get hug boxy in the sense of everyone is so focused on just keeping everyone's morale up and keeping everyone going that too often they miss that constructive criticism. So you really do need a very honest crit group, a very honest friend, or a very honest writer reader who will not be afraid to tear your work apart, because that's how you grow.
Yeah. I think it's there's a balance to it. In anything, like you want to share the truth, but you also want to do it in a way that the person's able to receive it. And I think that comes from like knowing the person that you're working with, or else just going to somebody that you absolutely don't know, uh, don't really have a relationship with, and let them critique you. Because I feel like relationship sometimes gets in the way of just being honest.
It definitely can, and along with that, being the type of writer that can receive a broader array of criticism will help you to grow as a writer, kind of for that reason, right? Because if the person knows that you can't really receive the rawness of what they really want to say, then you're going to miss out as a writer. You're going to miss that opportunity to grow and to learn and to get that reflection back of your own work. So definitely cultivating the type of personality and the type of resiliency to criticism that everyone can trust you to be able to deliver that criticism is critical.
Yeah, I think I'm sensitive. So I have to take time to process. Like if I don't like what you had to say, or I feel I just need a minute. Okay.
Here's the thing, like it's not really necessarily a reflection on you, right? If somebody doesn't like your work, there might just be some technical issue with it that is not indicative of your personality. The criticism might not strike at your core, even though one of your babies is getting criticized, so to speak, right? Like, so um, it's not taking it personally, even if it seems personal, because it pertains to your creation.
Yeah, I'm working on that. I like as I'm able to take criticism, but I definitely can get in my feelings for a moment, and then I
Yeah.
just have to get over, and then I get over it and I move on and move forward. But sometimes, because like you said, it's your baby, right? And for me, writing is something that is personal. It's something that I do because I love it. So when you present something that you love to others and they don't love it, it's like, what's wrong with you? What do you mean you don't love this? This is amazing. So for you, what's the most difficult part of your artistic process?
Keeping attention, and for that I would recommend that people get into mindfulness meditation, because it can help with cultivating that attention. But there are just so many distractions almost, no matter where you go, and the mind gets so busy during the writing process that it's easy to just lose course.
So do you have any like spiritual or therapeutic practices that you use to help you get into the right headspace for writing?
Daily meditation is very important for me. Um, I wouldn't call it spiritual in my case. It's more of a secular thing, but cultivating mindfulness, cultivating that attention with a regular meditative practice, it can help clear out the junk and the gunk that's in the mind. But it can also help sharpen our focus and help allow us to live in the present moment, all of which are important for writing.
So when you meditate, because I've never meditated. Like I always just see people doing the om and crossing their legs. Like, is that what you do, or do you focus on something? Or I've heard people will just like blank their minds. Like,
I don't focus on a mantra. like Om, I just focus on the breath. I keep my eyes open,
Mm-hmm.
and I do sit in a like a lotus position, um, but I will focus on the breath, and my focus will inevitably wander, at which point I will take note of it and just return to the breath. And I'll do that for, 20 or 30 minutes a day. It doesn't have to be long, but the mere practice of focusing on something and re-guiding your focus back, I think
Mm.
really trains mental circuitry that is good for a practice like writing, like a discipline like writing, or almost any discipline really that requires attention.
Yeah, I think maybe I should start practicing a little meditation. I do like the focus on breathing. My Fitbit's constantly telling me, take a moment for yourself,
Hmm.
reflect. I'm like, I actually like this. It's helping me think a little bit more. So, writer's block. What do the words writer's block mean to you?
And you have to stop writing. You might just write drivel, and that's okay. Sometimes you just need to get it out of your system and process it. Sometimes I look at writing like a conveyor belt, like your subconscious wants to get certain things out. And if you just stop writing altogether for a while, the things on that metaphorical conveyor belt just kind of stay there, and you need to run them through the system. So I think the best solution to writer's block is simply to write, even if you hate what you're writing. Just do it. Just get it out there.
That's across the board of the writers that I've interviewed so far. Everybody says the same thing. Just write, even if you are like disgusted by like I hate this so much. Just write and write through it. And so I think that's like good advice there. Sound advice there, Jim. All right. So if you had to describe yourself in just 3 words, what would those words be, Jim?
Oof, that's a very difficult question. I don't know that I can rapid fire this one.
It doesn't have to be rapid fire.
If I could describe myself just generally in 3 words, um, I'm definitely analytical, so that would be one. Um, that would be, I would say, the biggest one. Um, I would say uh, realistic slash pessimistic. You could take your pick of either of those two. Um, and hopefully creative. That would be my number 3.
Technically number 4, but
There we
I'm
go.
not
There we
gonna.
go. Yeah. Well, one of them is interchangeable.
So you also are a podcaster, and do you want to tell us a little bit about your podcast? It's on YouTube right now, right?
Yeah, right now it's on YouTube. It's called Pineal Express. It's a podcast that I do with a co-host and friend, Julian Willard. And what it is, it's an interview format. So we interview oftentimes academics or media figures to discuss their field of study. It's an educational and interdisciplinary, academically focused podcast.
And so the name is Pineal Express, and I know you explained it to me, but previously. But can you tell us what that means and how you came to that name for your podcast?
Oh yeah, I mean it's partially a joke, right? Because it sounds like Pineapple Express, but it's also the pineal gland in the brain um, has traditionally been associated with like the third eye. It's also been associated with like a beacon of consciousness or a beacon of um, higher thought or even spirituality. Like Descartes, for instance, thought that the pineal gland in the brain was like an interface with the metaphysical. And so, given that it's an educational podcast, and given that the pineal gland is associated with kind of like mind expansion in the broadest sense of that term, that's how we came up with the title.
Pineal Express. I like it. Do you have any projects that you're currently working on?
Yeah, I am. I'm currently working on a few different things. I'm always working on poetry and short stories, but I do have a longer form, um, kind of urban horror piece that I'm very slowly planning out. That's a long-term project.
Ooh, I like horror. So urban horror, can you give like a little more detail about what? And you don't have to like give your plot or anything like that, but just like what do you mean by it?
Um, I've got a piece set in, and you know it's very preliminary, but I've got a couple chapters written out and some outlines, but I've got a piece set in 1980s South Carolina where the I guess the initial hook is that um, in medical settings, a bunch of dead werewolves keep turning up, and a mystery unfolds from that.
I'm intrigued. I would like to read when you have when it's available whenever you finish, I guess. And that sounds interesting. I like werewolves, I like vampires, I like horror. So sounds interesting to me.
Yeah, well, like your earlier fictionary episode, zombie and vamp stuff. Like I could tell you like the horror.
Yeah. Well, I grew up like my mom is like the biggest Stephen King like reader and like lover and just like horror. Like she loves B movies and like cheesy horror movies and stuff like that. And that's what I grew up watching. That and Star Trek. So like my mother like I guess really imparted that love to me. So I love science fiction. I love horror. I love things that are a little bit creepy. It's just what I like. I can't help it.
What's your favorite Star Trek? I'm just curious.
Do you mean which
Which
like
series?
Next Generation or the original? I was of age watching Star Trek Next Generation.
Same.
Like Jean-Luc Picard, like that was my man. So I would have to say Next Generation. But when I was like little bitty, my mom and I used to watch the original series. Deep Space Nine. There's like on Peacock, they have like, and I haven't had a chance to watch like the new series that they have out, but I definitely want to. Like there's like a cartoon Star Trek. I don't know. I'd like to go to
Lower
convention.
Decks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Have you seen it?
I've only seen the pilot episode of Lower Decks, and I didn't think that it was funny, so I didn't continue to watch. I have a bunch of friends that did continue with the series and like it though, so I might give it another chance.
Yeah, there's just so much to watch. And then I just like, I don't have time. Like people are like, did you watch this? And I'm like, I really want to. I just don't have time.
Yeah, especially if you want to get reading and writing in, that takes away from the streaming TV.
Yeah, I find like, and then when I do watch TV, like I just want to watch something I don't have to think about. So I watch like reality TV.
Yeah.
Trash TV. All right, so we're gonna wrap up here. Do you have any last words or tips or suggestions for other writers?
Not much more than we said. I mean, I do want to emphasize the emotional maturity side of writing, because it's very important to be able to take criticism and not take it personally. And when you're submitting to journals, for instance, if you have short stories or if you have a novel and you're querying agents, you need to have that resiliency. You need to be able to handle rejection very, very well. And you need to be able to look at rejection as a badge of honor, as a new step being built that's going to get you to where you want to be, and not as a setback, because it's something that will happen to everybody. And even famous writers, you mentioned Stephen King. Stephen King, of course, as many writers did, used to, you may already know, pin their rejection letters to a wall in order to like build the mosaic, so to speak, of rejections before they actually find some success. So one of the most important things about being a writer is definitely having the emotional maturity and the resiliency to not only take criticism, but take rejection.
I agree. I definitely think that's like true in life in general, but I think it's also very important in the creative arena. You know, you're going to deal with people that don't like what you do or have suggestions that you might not appreciate. But in addition to that, I think an important thing is being able to stand for your work, like believing in yourself. And that's part of that resiliency, right? So like, you might get a rejection, but if you believe in what you've created or what you're doing, then you just keep pushing forward, right?
Yep. That's right.
So it's been a pleasure, Jim. I'm very glad that we were able to do this again. We want to share, again, you guys can check out Jim's podcast on YouTube. It's called Pineal Express. And then he's also been posted in Stone Coast Review, is a literary journal that he's been published in. And we're also going to be closing with one of Jim's poems. So you guys get ready for that. It's going to be awesome. All right, Jim, thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Deitra.
We're reading Jim Mack's poem, A Confounding Variable. My friend Adam had one goal: find the true religion through scientific evidence. His experiment was simple. He used a computerized baseball simulator, added a religion to each city's name. He had the Boston Hindus, the Atlanta Jews, the Detroit Catholics. He even threw in a few secular philosophies for good measure, hence the San Francisco Humanists and Cleveland Stoics. Adam set the program to build each team's roster completely at random before each simulated game. Then he ran the program, the computer playing teams repeatedly against each other. Adam's theory was this: the law of averages should guarantee that given continuous trials, each team's record should be even. If this law of nature were to be violated, if one team systematically outperformed the others, then Adam would find his true religion. For only something supernatural could violate natural law. After 6 months of running simulations, Adam found his answer. He ran up to me, eyes wide, and sputtered, "It's utilitarianism." The Philadelphia Utilitarians had won the most simulated games, scored the most simulated runs, and prevailed in the most simulated World Series. All this despite the team's members being randomly drawn before each game. I told Adam he was a fool. He hadn't proved utilitarianism was the true religion. More likely, the city name wrought the outcome. The true religion is Philadelphia, brotherly love. These events happened, so if you ever toss in bed, kept up by ruminations concerning the true religion, remember, it's brotherly love. And if you need to reach Adam, he's moved to Philadelphia. Yo, guys, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Jim, for being our guest today and for sharing your writing with us. This was an amazing poem, and we definitely look forward to the works that you're going to bring forth. I definitely myself look forward to your urban horror story. Sounds a little bit like a mystery, has some mysterious elements, some dying werewolves, and we need to know why. What's going on with these werewolves, Jim? Finish it so that I can know, because my mind is intrigued. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Until then, keep on reading. This has been Fictionary, a show in the Deitra D Productions roster. We do have some new shows coming up for you, including, so get ready, a show for the kids. That's right, guys, Miss Deitra Reads is coming back this fall.